Bon, maintenant, bonjour. Alors, Luc, maintenant, je me pose des questions. Est-ce que je suis trop sur du côté séduction? C'est ça que je me pose là tout de suite, tout à coup, avec le vestimentaire. Ce matin, que je me suis réveillé, je m'avais 3 différents outfits, puis je me demandais si ça veut dire quoi, business casual. Alors, parce que tout le monde a une différente idée de ça, alors merci, Luc. Alors, bon après-midi tout le monde. Moi, je vais faire ma présentation en anglais parce que je me sens un petit peu plus confortable des 5 langues. C'est la plus confortable pour moi, mais quand même, si vous voulez portugais, espagnol, italien, comme vous voulez, je peux le faire après. Mais quand même, alors merci tout le monde. Bon, je commence avec ça. Alors, ça, c'est moi, en 2015. Ouais, c'est un petit peu tough, là, la photo, parce que j'ai éliminé toutes les variétés qui étaient sur l'Internet. Alors, this is me, 2015, at the pinnacle of my career, so I thought at the time. Winning the award for e-learning program that we had built at Canada Post. Canada Post, when you think of Canada Post, you don't often think of digital leading-edge training, that's for sure. You think delivering letters, and they probably have large classrooms that they just train everybody in. So anyway, this was a big deal. To give you some context, a little background for me anyway, I just moved to Ottawa, actually in Cantley at Quebec, just north of Gatineau, with my family from London, Ontario. My wife does not speak a word of French, and then I abandoned her for a year to go train. It didn't go well. Needless to say, the fruits of our labor a year and a half, almost 2 years later, is this. And what happened was, for me personally, I wasn't a big believer in e-learning. As you can probably imagine, I love to be face-to-face. I like to be in the class, engaging. I want to try to see what you're thinking, how your body language is reacting to what I'm saying. So e-learning to me was just like, no. Again, it was almost like that whole AI for me. You might as well have just told me that the robot's going to do my job, okay? And nobody can replace this, right? So I was thinking I was already kind of 5 steps, 10 steps, 20 steps behind because I was already going in with a negative attitude. So I thought, well, if I'm going to build e-learning, I'm going to make it the best gosh darn e-learning you've ever seen, at least by Canada Post standards, which wasn't hard. So when we set out on this adventure to build this training program, I had hit the road and had delivered about 32 weeks of the year. I was on the road training this training program. It was 6 weeks of instructor-led training in class, flying everybody in and listening to me. Until the first millennial said, so just so I'm clear, I have to listen to you for 8 hours a day, 5 days, over 6 weeks. And I said, yes. And they went, wow, like you could just see the look on their face, like, can you not just flip me an email? Is there a link I can go to? Can I download this presentation somehow? So that didn't start off well, but the senior, that's how you know you're no longer young, by the way. When you relate with the older people, like, you get me, right? They're like, I've been here for 30 years. And I'm like, that's my people. I'm not sure when that happened, but it did. So anyway, so I set out to build this e-learning, and the process owner at the time, who's in the room, was very supportive and said, we've got to cut this. Like, the cost is enormous. You need subject matter experts every other week. Scheduling became atrocious. It was painful. And yeah, after the 3rd week, even this gets old. So by week 6, I was struggling to keep their attention and trying to get them engaged in the training. And it wasn't exactly riveting training to begin with. It's about how to restructure routes for letter carriers and how to make sure that we find the most efficient and effective way to deliver the mail. And now I'm going to make it e-learning. So now you've eliminated me, and you just have e-learning. So how do we do that? How did I engage? How do I get them to have the same kind of zest, I guess, for lack of a better word? And I had not been exposed to very good e-learning. All the e-learning I had been was, how fast can I get to the end and take my chances on the quiz? And it became a game. It was very fun. I'm averaging about 70% of the time. I can nail it in the first 2 tries tops. So I was like thinking, I've got this. I am a master e-learner taker. I don't remember anything I took, but my learning history is fantastic. I've taken every course known to man, only because I want to just beat my record. So when we tried to build this training program, I went all out. And it was great because, not to toot my own horn, but beep, beep, it was the most complex e-learning we had ever built at Canada Post. It was the most costly, like an exorbitant amount of money for Canada Post anyway. I know compared to other companies, probably not, but for us it was a huge investment forward. We were in the middle of going through a huge transition at Canada Post into this, for us, digital age. So we were kind of the first ones to lead that, and let's go all out, why not? So we wanted to build kind of a flagship program. What can we do? And the driving force for me was, what does good e-learning look like? Okay, show me what that looks like. A couple of suppliers came in and showed us funny, like really cool stuff that I thought was really neat. And of course, then they told me the price, which was times 10 of what I spent, and I went, okay, that's not going to happen. I can't sell that. Some of them were very gamification was big at the time, right? So you get points and your medals, and I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. But it wasn't for our audience. Know your audience, number one, right? So anyway, so what we did was, how did that get in there? This is in my office. So is the other picture, I'm not going to lie. But it's just a reminder of that's where we set our goal. My GM at the time had said, we've never won an award. And it would be nice to have something before I go, like, just win me an award. Like, before he left, he wanted me to win him an award, and I said, well, I'll see what I can do. So we set our sights on competing for the I4PL contest, and I would have just been happy with the bronze. So, but we ended up with the gold. And we took basically all that content and turned it into 42 hours of digital e-learning. 42. Now, you don't do it all in one shot, okay, thankfully. It was just in time. It was throughout the phase. But it was funny, the mentality and the change in people, because when we did all the training in class, it was 6 weeks straight, right? Now they're fully trained. And then when they didn't do their job well, they'd come back to me and say, I thought you trained them. I thought you were good, Nelson. And I'm like, listen, I am. But if they're not applying what they've learned till months later, I'm kind of dead in the water, if you will. And then guess what happens? Retrain and send them back to the session. I mean, it's a great job opportunity for me. It's like a job for life. But with e-learning, we wanted to make sure that it was just in time. So I got some pushback because people said, well, you said this was going to be quicker. And it's taken them a year now to do their training as opposed to like 6 months, a week a month. And I said, yes, but it's just in time. So if they're not doing that task, why am I training them on something they're not going to apply, use, retain? So they kind of scratched their heads because it's a complete mind shift, and the culture that is applied to that comes with it. We weren't prepared for that. We just thought, build it, they will come, right? We're going to build this amazing e-learning. They're all going to love it. They're going to jump on board and see how awesome it is. But it was tough because we had to get a lot of process owners on board, and especially once you got past the cost. And when I explained to them that not only were we going to convert all of it into digital, but the other challenge we had as well was that we had to eliminate the trainers. Well, technically, we didn't need as many trainers now to deliver, right? So, obviously there's some pros and cons we talked about earlier in communicating and making sure you have those good relations with your employees to make sure that they understand where they fit. But we had subject matter experts. We engaged them. They're the ones that lead this. If you have buy-on from the subject matter experts, the process owners, and in the field, right? Because everybody always thinks, oh, head office. They have no idea what we're doing here in the field. They're not giving us what we need or what we want. We wanted to make sure they were plugged in. We wanted to make sure that if we do this conversion, that they were able to be part of that conversion, that they'd buy on, they had a voice. Like I said, because it was co-facilitated. Well, you can imagine in many companies, Canada Post is no different, attrition starts to kick in. And those subject matter experts that have been there for 25 years and had seen it all had started to disappear. And now your senior person who was subject matter expert, been there 5 years tops. I'm like, this is it? This is who you're sending me? This is the top guy? This is the all-knowing young lady? And so that became a challenge for us. But regardless, we persevered. And when we built this e-learning, like I said, it was pretty cool. It was pretty slick. We achieved nirvana, as it's known in the training world, in that we actually went to level 5 Kirkpatrick. Okay, return on investment, because we were able to measure that the routes that are delivered and the way that the letter carriers were delivering the routes was just as good, if not better, in the new model than they were when they were taught in a classroom environment. Only it was a lot cheaper, huge cost avoidance, and theoretically in a shorter period of time, even though it may have taken them longer to complete the training. So you can just imagine, by the way, the audience, there's 200 total of these employees at the time. We would train about 20 to 30 a year, okay? And now I've got 2 people graduating every year. So they're like, I'm not seeing the return on my investment, Nelson. But we could see it because when we go to and that was always the challenge for me in training. How do I show that training has a direct impact? Frontline. How do I show that training has a direct impact on the savings? How do I show that training has a direct, because I know I'm going to get blamed if it goes wrong. That's a given. Training gets blamed all the time. But how do I show the positive side? So we were able to measure, based on some RMOs who had built these routes, that's what they're called. We love acronyms at Canada Post, route measurement officers. Before the training in the old world, in class, and then in the new world, and with the digital training. We built a parallel program, experienced and new. We wanted to factor in that I'm not going to make this poor individual who's already been in that role for many, many, many years take the entire training in its entirety. So we ran parallel programs, one gated heavily, and identifying kind of where those cutoffs were. We had lockdown on your evaluation, so you had one chance, shut you down, because I just learned. It's like asking a criminal to put together a security package. Because I'd broken every rule in e-learning, I knew what not to do. So I'm like, we need to shut them down, so they can't advance. So we locked them out, right? They'd have to go back to their team leader. They'd have to go back and get some coaching before we would let them continue through the training program. So all of these things come together. We had activities and modules, and this is when I learned all the terminology. What's an item versus a module versus an activity versus all that fun stuff. So it was all net new to me, all while we're trying to implement a new LMS. And by new, I mean an LMS, right? Because we didn't really have one before that. So there was a lot of trying, a lot of struggles, a lot of, definitely a lot of pain and sacrifice. But regardless, we got there, okay? That was 2015, okay? And then after the glory had expired, paparazzi had left my home, and people stopped asking me for signatures on the road anywhere I went, the reality set in, which was year 2. We have to do updates. I'm like, all right, let's update. They're like, no, you don't understand. There's like 62 modules, 20 hours, 12 activities, 64 spequela. But anyway, I'm like, all right. They're like, okay. The cost, the time, and the resources needed to make these updates is going to be pretty big. And it really didn't hit me because I thought we just wanted to hit it out of the park. Let's just get the most amazing e-learning done, get the accolade, go home, mic drop, we're done. But that ongoing support and the year later, and 2 years later, and here we are 3 years later, has been very painful because of the amount of content. And ironically enough, the irony in this is that as we were evolving, because we knew that the organization was changing, we wanted to adapt to it, only I'm just too slow. By the time we got our storyboards updated, reviewed, validated, and then signed off and get a hold of the subject matter experts, chase down the process owners, and they sign off and they don't like this, oh, can you just change that, please, sorry? And go back to our suppliers, then go back to my manager, and go back to the director, then review it, oh, they've quit, they're on holidays, they've left, they're replacing, they're covering, I don't have authorization, you're gonna have to escalate. I was pretty much pooched, and that was module 1. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to go well because I've still got another 62 to go, and we're not going to deploy for another year. And by the time it hits the road, they're going to be like, Nelson, I know it's outdated. I know it's outdated, okay? So that became a huge challenge for me. So future-proofing. Tomorrow's already outdated. Come, I'm like, whew, it's out there. What do you mean, c'est pas bon? What do you mean it's outdated? What do you mean it's wrong? No, c'est pas possible. I just finished doing it. But that was my reality. That's what I found. And I'm like, okay, this isn't working. How do I change this? Because not only did we have individuals, we thought they're connected, they've got their laptops, they can do e-learning, they can take the training. That's as far as kind of how my brain had gone. I hadn't thought about remedial, ongoing, and updating, all that fun stuff. Don't tell my boss, by the way. So, but future-proofing became a challenge because as the company evolved, and we led them, we kind of dragged them with us, now they had leapfrogged us and we were falling behind because the training could not keep up with the needs of the employees. So we need to make sure that it is leveraged repeatedly, not only as training, but ongoing job support. That was huge for me because it took me like almost 4 days just to pick the right voice for the characters in the e-learning. I'm like, she sounds too nasty, snarky. No, she's too sweet, too smart, whatever. Stick un défi. And I wanted to make sure everything was perfect. So now here I am, and I'm thinking we need to do something better. We need to find a way that we incorporate the training into their day-to-day lives, on their device, in their e-learning, in their emails, in their content management system, on their repository, wherever I can get that content to them in a quick, easy, and accessible fashion. It didn't have to be pretty and fancy and flashy, which contradicts, I know, what I said 7 years ago when I started this e-learning, but it's really finding out what does the employee need ultimately to do their job. When do they need it, and how best do they need it? Or best way to get it to them, I should say. Okay? So the organization, changing, right? We all heard of Canada Post. So slowly the postal transformation was occurring, which is kind of what triggered this, right? We had become, if you had read the headlines, right? We hadn't become profitable, first time in like 18 years. Letter mail was dead, right? So everyone was pretty much called it off and said pretty much Canada Post is dead. But then online shopping, parcel, we became a parcel company instead of a letter company, and exponential growth had occurred. So now, just imagine if you think about going like this, letter door-to-door delivering, and keep in mind who I'm training is the people who manage those routes and try to be as efficient and effective and squeeze every ounce of savings out of those routes. Now 72-inch televisions. You can only fit 3 of those in a car, in a van, before you're delivering that to 2 houses and having to carry it up. So now it's parcels. They take up a lot more room. So now we need bigger vehicles. They take up a lot more room in our plants, in our depots, in our offices. Shoot, how do we manage that? I mean, our previous CEO had said it's a good problem to have. It was. But I had to keep up, because if we're going to get these people trained, be able to do what they need to do to deliver on the promise, that we are now playing in a competitive space. We owned letter mail. Like, what are you going to do? Deliver letters? No one's going to do that, right? And there's certainly, no offense, but let's be honest, there is a world outside of Toronto, Vancouver, and even Montreal, okay? The Tukayaktuks of the world also want their parcels, and they're shopping online, and the Grimleys and all the small little towns and communities. No one goes there but us. So it's how do we get this to them? So one of the ways we did this is leveraging what they currently have. And believe it or not, one of the things that our employees, not all our delivery employees, had yet was a PDT, which is a portable data terminal, a little scanner. So most of the country, and many of the remotes, were still paper and pen, right? So they had never been connected to the rest of our network, never been connected to customers. And by customers, even that term alone, we talk about customers who are mailing. Let me tell you, Amazon's a tough customer, right? When they want, how they want, when they want their items delivered to their people. And we're that conduit. But then the customer at the other end who says, I thought I told you not to put it at the front door, okay? Or the customer said, it was raining and it got wet. Whatever the case may be. You said you delivered it, but I never got it. So we're kind of in this shift where not only is the company, the corporation changing from a postal perspective, but our customers were changing. And we're now playing in a very unfamiliar space, a very competitive space. Okay? So we don't have time for Nelson to pick out the right voice and the right outfit for a year and a half by the time we get to what we need to get our people trained. Okay? So that became a challenge for me personally. When we look at ensuring tools are always sharpened and ready to use whenever needed. Okay? Again, it's not a matter, just wait, we're just updating. Just give me another couple weeks, we should have it online. That doesn't work. We can't do that anymore. Okay? We have to move beyond taking the entire module, giving them everything, including the kitchen sink, in one shot, up front. No, oublie ça. Okay? So we had to look at being more flexible. We looked at things like formal, informal. I know we talk a lot about that. One of the words that's really bugging me lately is agile. Everyone loves that's the new kind of click word. But essentially, Canada Post is not agile. We are a massive corporation. So it's not easy for us to do anything quickly. But we needed to take those bite sizes and kind of what is critical now. What can we update quickly and easily? Leveraging web-based applications. How do I edit at the same time? Where you can see what I'm editing, I can see what you're editing. Online, same time, not wait, well, she still has the document signed out. I'm waiting for her to finish so I can review it. We don't have time for that. Narration, right? I wanted to go redo think about this, a year later. She's on maternity leave. I'm sorry, what? No, you don't understand. I picked her for a reason. She needs to come back and reprogram and do the voiceover. So now I'm going to have like a, bonjour, everybody. Because I had to change the voices. And I'm like, maybe they won't notice if it's like, bonjour. Maybe if I just stretch it out, they won't notice. So now I'm like, well, now narration's out because that alone is going to kill me. Because I can't manage those resources. I can't manage the availability to get my product out when I need it to my employees. Okay? So what does this mean for training? Well, hey, there's a pointer. Regarde. Hey, c'est cool. Okay. I'm like, oh, je l'ai vu sur l'écran. All right. So we talk about task-based learning. That's kind of where I got to. Instead of updating the entire module that has 17 activities, we couldn't even track where they were within that program until they came out the other end, if they made it out. So we had no idea of where they were in the process. So task-based learning, micro-learning, I know we hear about that, but when we launched these PDTs, we had no idea, and this is scary, we had no idea what these employees could or couldn't do. In rural Canada, do they have cell signal? Do they have cell phones? Do they have laptops, computers, home computers? What year browser do you think they're using? How would they accept a PDT, something portable, data that they have to scan, they have to enter, they have to type? And our demographic in the rural environment is quite mature. So how are they going to receive this? So anyway, so we have that data now. We're able to finally get some information, but we found that in order for us to be the most effective at getting what we need to who we need, when we need it, and making sure I am able to confidently say to my team and my managers and directors that we are real-time updating. We can have it in their hands when they need it. When they click on that PDT for the help menu, for the postal book, or the pocket guide, for the training videos, for the skill bites, for the micro snippet learning, it's going to be always relevant and up to date. Provided I'm told when the updates are happening, that's a whole other story. But as long as I'm in the loop, I can provide that update. So it becomes also training versus information versus awareness. Is it really training? Everyone loves to put it in this big bucket. It's training. Well, maybe no. Maybe it's just awareness. Maybe it's just information, a good to know, a nice to know. Do we have to track everything? Do we have to put everything in the LMS? I know we have one, but that doesn't mean we have to use it for everything. So we talk about formal training, content repository library. So we gave them simulation and examples to try to work through and make it as close to what the reality would be. Well, here's an idea. How about we just use the reality? Use what they actually use and the tools they use and the systems they use with the training. So like that, they're doing it in real time without having to spend copious amounts of time and money and energy simulating that environment in an e-learning that they can only access on their laptop when they're at the office or when they have time at home after their long day. What and why and how and when, right? Often the e-learning is the what and why. Why is it important? Why do I have to do this? And what is it you want me to do? But the on-the-job or the content, the meat, if you will, is really the how and when do I need to do it. Okay, so leveraging that to make sure, let's start with that. Get them started, get them on the job. So it's an evolution, right? It's been over the past 3 years. I said extension of ILT to detailed, all-encompassing learning, e-learning, now to micro-learning, just-in-time, bite-sized, task-based, on-device training. It's a mouthful, but it encompasses everything I kind of wanted to talk about today. I keep loving that zapper. I just want to make sure people are awake, that's why. See? It's going to be like a rave later. Okay, parfait. Alors, it's not what you know, but where to go. That was the other lesson for me. It's not I'm going to give them everything they've ever wanted and needed. It's I want them to know where to find that information, where they want to get it, when they need to get it, how they need to get it, in what modality they want to get it in. Okay, and lastly, if you saw from that first picture, okay, well, next picture. So we had a postal transformation. Oops. We had a postal, see, I was trying to use my scanner. Postal transformation, digital transformation, now a training transformation. And again, I'm still always looking for the new and greatest and latest shiny thing. I am very much distracted by shiny things, including the laser. But if you look at that award, that's not what drives me. I'm looking for the next shiny thing. Could be the next shiny project, the next shiny technology, the next shiny advancements in how we can better support our employees to get them what they need when they need it, but still engage them. And I don't want it to just be scriptive. I still want to make it fun. I still want to have a creative say. But I think that's going to make a big difference going forward, and I'm pretty excited about it. So thank you, everybody.